Well, there it is. Hi, guys. Welcome to a quick movie review of Spider-Man Far From Home. Just got back from the cinema. It was a very fun movie. We're going to get that out of the way. You're going to have a good, fun time. There's no doubt about that. There's a comedic element to the action, and it's just got a nice tone overall that sort of is relaxing, atmospheric, and non threatening. So if you're going in expecting some sort of super thriller or anything like that, or horror movie, obviously this isn't quite what you're going for. It's a Spider-Man movie. You know, it's one of the ones that you can more or less look forward to out of the superhero movies. Some of them are going to be a bit darker, some of them are going to be a bit more gritty, some of them are going to be a bit more, I don't know, out there and not necessarily your favourites, but you still want to go see them. Spider-Man is obviously quite a popular one. He's an awesome character. He's like the parkour champion, isn't he? Let's face it. The dude can practically fly, but he doesn't just fly because that would be too easy. He flies with style, aka swinging. So there's a skill, there's an element to it. And the movie, it does have action in it, but it's not as much as you think it would be. But it is pretty impressive when they do go to it. But bear in mind that there's a lot of CGI going on. A lot of CGI. There has to be. I mean, as far as I know, people can't throw webs out of their wrists and swing off them. So it can't be that real, can it? Let's face it. So you're going to have an enjoyable experience. It's going to have humor. It's going to have awkwardness because it's based on teenagers and their lives. So there's the fun element. There's nostalgia for the older. There's the sort of like the living it for the actual people that are young enough to be in that situation. So you can sort of like get a lot out of this movie, regardless of what age group you are, I think. But obviously, if you're younger, you're probably going to appreciate the movie a little bit more. It's probably going to ring home true to some of the things that are going on in your lives. Um, it's got, I don't know. I mean, I was about to say about the villains. Should we just go to spoilers now? Straight to spoilers, so that I can sort of like speak about the rest of the movie and not worry too much. So from this point onwards, we'll do spoilers. Um, the main villain is Mysterio. I'm not very familiar with him, but I did like him. I like Jake Gyllenhaal or Gyllenhaal, whichever way you're supposed to pronounce it, and I think he's a fantastic actor. Uh, he's got such a sort of charismatic charm to him, and there's a hint of craziness there. And I was waiting to see it because he was holding himself so well for like the first half of the movie, where he's sort of like, oh, this he's a down to earth, cool guy, and then halfway through, you get this scene in the pub where obviously the bad guys initially like the fire, earth, water, air. You're thinking they can't be the real. They can't be like the whole thing for the whole movie. It's just not possible. So obviously we've got this other character, Mysterio, and I'm just essentially waiting until he turns into a bad guy. And then because I don't know the character very well from the comics, I don't know whether he's a bad guy or not. Like they could even be introducing him as a new Avenger or something like that, because obviously Marvel Universe is branching off into space and stuff like that. So here's a character that can fly and he's throwing out green lasers and stuff like that. He looks like he might be quite adept for space travel. So you don't know necessarily if you're not familiar with the comics and stuff like that. But at the same time, you know that there has to be another villain here, and they haven't done much setting up otherwise. So when is he going to turn evil? And then he goes into this sort of dramatic, almost over the top, but you get away with it because it's done in such a funny flair. There's like this actor dramaticness to it, this drama. And he's in the pub, he's doing this huge speech. All the people around him are people that have been sort of spurned by Tony or other people in power. And it reminded me a little bit of Iron Man 3 in the sense, like, you remember Tony sort of doesn't speak to the main villain in that one. He's supposed to meet him at the top of the roof or something like that and doesn't bother. And then the other guy holds a grudge against Tony completely. So it was a bit like that. It's like, oh, Tony fired me, so now I want to kill him and everyone else. You get a bit far-fetched, and the movie does get far-fetched because the technology, the CGI is fantastic. It is, what they've done is pretty incredible considering how much is going on the screen and the ways that they layer it and detail it. It's pretty phenomenal, to be quite frank with you. But it's almost like they got a bit too carried away with it because you have to deep dive into it, dive into that technology because I mean, are we living like 200, 300 years in the future? This stuff is impressive, right? The premise is basically drones that can simulate, or you know how we're living in the day right now where you've got virtual technology and augmented technology, I believe, augmented reality. And that looks impressive, but it's so like we're not really even touching the surface of what we can really do with that stuff at the moment. And this goes full blown. It's like trying. You have to just almost leave your brain at the door. I'm trying to think of the right phrase for it a little way. You have to almost like turn off your skepticism, say like okay, this can't be real. This technology, like they're saying that these drones can simulate and sort of like, I mean, just the illusions themselves. All right, I'll give you a pass. Maybe the drones can sort of like, you know, visually create monsters out of thin air. But the whole action part, where the monsters are like fire or water and stuff like that, hell no. What? Not even Star Trek would have this technology. What? How many years in the future are we going here with this? It's like, what is happening? Like, sure, the drones can fire some bullets and shoot off some rockets. That's not going to create molten lava and stuff like that. So what's going on? What's happening? But, you know, you're fighting with that a little bit in your brain, but at the same time, obviously, so it's so over the top CGI action, you have to just sort of like almost say to that bit, go to the back of your head. It's okay. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. We'll just chill. And overall, really good fun movie. Had a great time. Bad guy's pretty awesome. Not loving it. I actually almost preferred him when he was more of a good guy, but because he goes a bit too sort of like over dramatic. But that they played into it because they were basically acting. They were actors to a degree. Like the whole thing was just this display, this theatre production almost. So I kind of get why they went with that angle, because it was almost like a tongue-in-cheek way of looking at that. MJ was great, like the love interest for Peter, the sort of side characters, the Peter's friend and the blonde girl, sort of like a bit of humor there, just sort of like the troubles that teenagers sometimes have. It was all sort of like comic relief, and it was fine for the situation, and just to break up the scenes a little bit. I like the teachers; they were good. Obviously, I can't remember his name, but one of the characters is from what the hell is it called? It was from like the 2002 or something like that TV series. I think it only ran for 1 or 2 seasons. Probably 2 seasons. It was waiters, you know? Like these people that go and create... they go to people's homes or houses or whatever, or parties, and they provide the food and the dining experience, and they're basically waiters. But what the hell is the name of it? I cannot remember. I think it's got Adam Scott in it. But yeah, the guy is from there. He's playing a very sort of nerdy character. He was kind of a nerdy character, but it's sort of like in a sullen way in that show. But it was good, yeah. But there's enough humor in it, and just a good overall fun tone to enjoy. So if you want to go see a superhero movie and you want to have a fun time, you're going to enjoy it. It doesn't sort of stand up, though, in terms of like the overall... Because essentially Peter Parker's fighting drones. And this is almost like a dystopian world in a way. A dystopian future where, I mean, drones are going to become a thing, right? So when they all get militarized and they're controlling us, like in Half-Life 2 and whatnot, you know, it gets a bit real sometimes, almost too real. So they obviously have the humor to deal with it, because it's like foretelling what could potentially be in the future. But yeah, I had a good time with the movie. I'll give it, I don't know, I don't normally give scores when I do reviews or something like that. I'll give it a 7 out of 10. It didn't blow me away, but I wasn't going into it expecting it to blow me away. But I enjoyed the humor and just the fun atmosphere of the film. That there's no way I could be disappointed watching it. You know, it's a feel-good movie kind of thing. But I wasn't sort of like, I don't know. I mean, the CGI was very, really good, but that's not sort of always something I'm trying to look for, really. The storyline and everything else like that, the plot might be a bit thin, so to speak. So that's probably what suffered. And that is really what draws you in. Like, as amazing as all the flashy effects can be, the storyline obviously has to sort of grip you a little bit for you to really invest yourself and say, oh, okay, I'm on board. It's like when you're reading a book. I'm all in. I'm going all 400, 500 pages on this. Some of the dwarfs books I've read are like 700 pages long. I'm in. You've got me gripped. So you're gonna have a good time. Have a fun time. Let me know what you guys thought of the movie, and hope you enjoy this little review. Take care. All the best.